Today I'm going to be talking to you about our journey. Our journey on this planet is about Christing. We use that term to give a visual to the goals in our heart to follow the path of Jesus Christ. And he said, everything I do, you shall do in greater. He said, know ye not ye are gods. He said, I am Son of God, you are Son of God. And so we use the word Christ to identify the spark of divinity within each man that walks the planet. And metaphysically, you all understand that. Everybody has that spark of divinity within them, no matter what path they are taking. And all of us, I believe, walk this same path that I'm about to describe to you. Because we are all divine creative beings. So, to use our language, we are about walking this planet, allowing our awareness to grow to the point where we can accept our divinity. We walk on this planet learning lessons, focusing on what we want to focus on, moving through matter and creating. Yes? Yes. And it's so easy. Yes. Yes. No matter what we are experiencing, no matter what matter we are experiencing our lessons. We are trying to teach ourselves something. We're seeing something that we need to learn. Sometimes we get so involved in the matter, we get so involved in what we think we're supposed to be doing, even when it's a mission from God, and we have all been on missions from God, and we get so involved in the matter begins to grow. And I can give you a personal example of when I was teaching seminary. Isn't that a mission from God? Channeling God's divine ideas, writing what they're telling me to teach, really getting into the Spirit of God, and my focus became so into the matter of what I was creating, the matter became a mountain. You never do that. Yes, you do. We get so focused that we create these large energies of matter. And then we wonder how that happened. But what we focus on expands. We know that's true, and we know that's why the matter becomes a mountain, because we focused on it way too much. But we are still learning. Everything that we're experiencing is to teach us something. We may need to learn by learning what does not serve us. We may need to learn by creating a mountain so big and so arduous that we realize it doesn't serve us. Or we learn through coring through that mountain to find what's inside. But eventually we find spirit, and eventually we return to who we are. Because we're on the journey of Christing, and what you focus on expands. We will find spirit. We'll tear up that mountain looking for it. We'll go right to the center of it and we'll find it. Or we can release the mountain and rise above it. Truly release the mountain. Truly say, this no longer serves me. I shall not argue with this mountain any longer. I shall rise above it, go someplace else, and focus my attention elsewhere. Either way, the mountain is no longer there. We've torn it up into shreds, or if we've risen above and walked away. But what it was teaching us has become a reality within us. You got it? So simple, right? Just so easy. So I wanted to share with you something that happened to me a long time ago. I was still in my 30s and a young minister, and a friend of mine brought her sister to me for counseling. Her sister lived out of the state, and traditional counseling had failed her, and she wanted to have her talk with me for just a moment. I saw her twice. The first time I saw her, she was very angry and very upset. Her suicide attempt had failed. She had taken her pills, laid down on her floor in her sweet little farmhouse, and darn it all, if someone hadn't come unexpectedly and they found her. And she woke up in the hospital, and she was furious. She was furious that she was still on this planet. So angry. And traditional counseling did not work. So I met this beautiful young girl. She was younger than I was. She was beautiful, alive, didn't know what to say. I'm thinking, God, help us here. So I took her and I said, if I can only help her feel God, then she'll understand. So I spoke with her about God and we prayed together. And I took her into my heart and we did a beautiful meditation to lift up and to feel God's energy. And when I was finished, she said, that was nice. But don't you want to do that more often? I don't want to be here. Okay. So I sent her away, and don't you know, I carried her until I saw her again. I worried about her. She was heavy on my heart. What do you say? So the next counseling opportunity she came was probably a week or 2 weeks later, and then she was going to be going home. She came, and Spirit gave me this very clear. Speak to her about life. And I spoke to her. I said, life is all around you here. But when you cross over, where do you think you're going? But to greater life. Life is more real on the other side than it ever can be here. You're leaving something. If you can just choose life instead of death, think about life, and then choose life. And if it takes you to the other side, so be it. If you choose life and you cross over, so be it. But you're not running away. You're not wanting to die. You're not wanting to end your world. And she listened to me, and she said, interesting. And then I did not see her again. I understand she did have 3 more years on the planet before she was successful in her journey to cross over. And I'm sure she was very happy when she did. But in this situation, and I've never forgotten what Spirit told me, choose life, choose life, choose life. In this situation, the mountain had gotten so big for her. Her mountain had gotten so big, she had forgotten to crawl through it. She'd forgotten to rise above it. She stood there with her arms crossed, mad at it, kicking the rocks at the base, going, I don't like you. Don't like you. Can you see that? Have you ever done that? Have you ever been so upset with something that was created in your world that all you can do is get mad at it? And it's our creation. Then I was reminded of another kind of client that I've had over the years, some recent, some years ago, but all the same. This client is the type of person who they tend to follow somewhat of a Buddhist path in that they love to meditate and they love to go into this space of nirvana when they can breathe in and transcend all of this world and they feel the touch of God and they feel the light blowing through them and they feel oneness with Spirit. But then they open up their eyes and they look at their world and nothing is working. They're in unhappy relationships. They're with people that don't love them. It's very difficult. And when I speak to them and say, bring that here, they say, oh no. No, can't do it. It's almost like meditation becomes a drug. It's my escape to this other space. No, I can't do it. And these people crawl on the top of their mountain, crawl to the very top, sit on top of it, meditate, and don't deal with it. I'm not dealing with the mountain that I created. Just like my suicide girl didn't want to deal with the mountain she created. Do you see? And yet we are the masters that create these things. We have this beautiful energy within us to shift, to heal, and to learn. That mountain is there to teach us something. So, this mountain always represents a pattern of a thought that we've had, and there is always a way to move it. When we began the mountain, there was a dream that we were moving toward, something we wanted to create. And then we got so fixated in the steps getting there, the matter became bigger than the dream. Do you know? And this is the visual they gave me. The dream is still on the other side, but it's beyond a glass ceiling. Have you ever seen that? Where you know, how many of you are working on something magnificent? Absolutely fantastic. And you're doing step after step after step, and you still can't seem to get there? And do you ever feel like you're just going to have to give up? Maybe it doesn't work this way for you. Maybe it's just too hard. Where is your focus in that moment? It's on the mountain and not the dream. We begin to look at the dream less and less and the mountain more and more. We tend to become like the young client. We tend to get frustrated and angry, or we want to do anything we can to move away from looking at it. But the dream is still there. And so they were working with me about this. They reminded us that every experience is born of a dream. We are all working on something. And then last night, they wanted me to tell you this. How do we get our lift? How do we get our vision to lift to the dream? And they said the key is hope. For me, when they gave me the word hope, it was open-hearted, perfect expansion, open-hearted, perfection expressing anything. But my heart is opening to something greater. Hope builds our dreams. It's an idea that is greater than what you know. Do you understand? If you're hoping for something, the idea is greater than what you now know. If you can build a space of hope, which is what your dream was born of, and hold that energy of greater, a wonderful thing starts to happen to that space. It becomes filled with an energy called faith. As I hope, I begin to believe in the possibilities. And as I have faith, that faith draws to that space of hope substance. They said the expanded space is now filled. And when that space is filled with energy, what has to happen? Matter has to express. That energy becomes denser and stronger, and matter is born. That's the way to effortlessly manifest our dreams. Did you guys feel that?
Yeah.
Can you feel it? To expand, to hope, to expand, to have an idea, to let it grow into faith, to let faith fill the space, and then matter has to happen. That will keep our vision on the dream. The other step to our manifestation is to start to love our mountains. Darn that mountain. Don't you know I crawl to the center of almost every mountain I make? And I am complaining the whole time, who put this mountain here? Crawl, 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 crawl. And you know what I find in the center of the mountain? I find that the mountain doesn't matter. And who is in the center? God. Me. Let's see if you can do this one, Cindy. That's what I tell myself. Oh, let's see if you can catapult that high. Okay, we'll build you a big old mountain now. See how you can do. But in the middle of that mountain, I am. And when I work all the way to the center of it, God is there. So we get to choose. So many of us are mountain terror-uppers, aren't we? Don't we love to just get into a good old mountain and really give it a go? Maybe we want to become the hope and the dream builders instead. So many of us, honest to goodness, I counsel with quite a few. I know a lot of your hearts. I know what we're working with. I know what our country is going through. For us, this group here, for our church, so many of us, all of us, are seeking to manifest something. We're so close to this dream, but it's like 3 feet away. 3 feet away. Oh, I can still see the dream. Let me kick the mountain a little bit. You know? It's time for us to really see ourselves catapulting into a new way of manifesting. Have you done the work? Oh, you haven't? Have I been working for everybody? Is that it? I've been working really hard. Have you not been doing your work?
Yes.
Okay then. Let me tell you this. You're working, whether you realize it or not. And you may be kicking the mountain. You may be cussing the mountain. You may be mad at the mountain. You may be climbing the mountain to try to conquer it. You're working. We're all working. The more we consciously focus on working to spiritualize our hearts and spiritualize our matter, the more traction we get to our dream, because we're awake to it. Do you see? We're all at this beautiful precipice. You know, metaphysicians use that all the time, the precipice where you either fly or fall. You know, you cannot go any further in this level of consciousness that you live in. You got to fly or fall. And some of you ask God to build a tree underneath you. Well, I'd rather fly. I'd rather fly. We're at this beautiful space where if we just looked at the dream with that renewed hope and that feeling of joy that birthed it, we could rise above that mountain. The obstacles that are in front of us, we could rise into being that divine light. Okay, I'm going to tell you what really matters. What really matters is love. All the stuff that we go through, all the tests and trials that we put ourselves through, they are simply to perfect our spirit. But what matters beyond everything is love. It's love. I recently had an opportunity to have an experience that I'd never had before. You know me. Let's go for it. And this was a physical experience. And I was in a space that I had never been before in my life, where my physical body was doing something I couldn't stop it from doing. It was very interesting. I had lost my ability to remember. I could think very clearly, but my ability to remember people's face, I could see their faces but not their names. And I went quite into an interesting space. I'll tell you very quickly. I was going home. I thought of my client that I'd seen that day. I saw his face way back in my head, and I couldn't remember his name. I've seen him for 7 years. I went to my mailbox, and I looked at my mailbox angels, and I couldn't remember their names. I channeled those down. I talked to them every day. Their name, I couldn't remember. I called Patrick immediately. I knew Patrick. Part of my brain was very bright and shining. It was very bright. I said, Patrick, who's my client that I love dearly and I saw today? He said, do you mean Jason? I said, what's a Jason? He said, I'm leaving Mitch's house. I said, what's a Mitch? I'm on my way. Don't do anything. So I went downstairs and I laid out my angels and I looked at my angel and I went, peace. I could see the name, peace. And there was no connection. My brain could not take the name and apply it to the energy I was seeing. And so I laid on my healing table. We have a color crystal table at the house. I laid on my table. And I was praying, of course. I was bringing in everybody I knew. You know, this is something that was not anything I'd ever experienced before. I could literally feel part of my brain here active and part of my brain here active. And I could not connect the two. And Patrick came in and held my hand. He was praying with me. And I kept trying to bring forward, and I brought forward David Fuller. I could bring David Fuller. I could see other people, I couldn't bring forth their name. Bonnie Westbrook. And trying to hook it with Bonnie's face, Westbrook. And so I'm doing this in my mind, praying to God, trying to reconnect. And Patrick looked at me and he said, what's David's middle name? And I went and found it, and I said, James, with this big smile on my face. And he knew if I lost David, I was in trouble. So I held on to David's name, David James Fuller. And Patrick was praying for me, and then he kept saying, periodically, what's David's middle name? When was David born? I knew when David was born. This is my only son, this is my only child. I knew when he was born. He was born in May. So everything about David was there. And I just kept pulling it back and praying. And I looked at Patrick and I cried. I said, I'm sorry. I might not make it. I'm sorry I might leave you with this mission unfinished. I'm sorry. And then I thought of all the other things that were unfinished too. He doesn't even know how to write a check. He doesn't know where the money is. are mine, who gets what, he doesn't know any of that. And he just held my arm. And I felt the love that he had for me and that I had for him in such a way that was more powerful than any human experience I've ever had. And I knew it was going to be okay. I knew that if I crossed or if I stayed, it was going to be okay. Because he was there and he loved me and I loved him. And I don't care what anybody got. It didn't matter anymore. He was going to take care of everything. It was okay. I just kept Reikiing and praying and healing, and then he put his hands on me that night and Reiki'd me in bed, and I felt it click back together. And I told him, it's done. Well, the next morning we did go to the hospital just to make sure, because I was feeling a little lopsided, and so the doctor came in and he said, okay, what are you going through? I said, and I told him everything, and then I did this and that, and the energy going through my spine. Of course, I feel everything. You know, I have this thing in my spine, and then I did a color table, and he said, a what? I said, this crystal color table. He said, you have that at home? Yes, I do. And then we used Reiki. We were Reikiing ourselves. He goes, Reiki, how do you spell that? So I wrote it down. They did my blood, they did my heart, and they did my mind. He came back in, and he said, oh my God, you are a miracle of modern medicine. No one your age is this healthy. He said, you are more healthy than 98% of the people who walk through that door. Go home and just keep doing what you're doing. And I said, well, what about what I went through? And he goes, that could have been stress. Yeah. And it could have been stress. Who knows? But I called my son that morning, and I said, you know, honey, before I went to the hospital, I said, honey, you know, this is what's happening. And he said, you're just being rewired to get greater information. And I said, you don't understand, I forgot Jason's name. And he goes, I don't care, did you forget mine? That's all that matters. And of course I hadn't.
Typical for
And I know this is a very, very personal story, but I'm going to tell you guys, I was in my mountain. I was in the middle of something that I needed to experience. And what I found in the middle of that mountain, I know for a fact, without a doubt, that that man loves me. And that no matter what happens, he'll carry on. He'll carry on. I know for a fact. And the love that we had in that moment, unshrouded by human concepts, the pure essence of what we felt for one another, was miraculous to see. It's just miraculous. And I got to feel what it feels like to be prepared to cross. I got to feel what it felt like, and I wasn't afraid. Jesus Christ was at my side at one point, and he was standing there, and he said, well, and guess what I said? I choose life. I choose life. I want to be conscious, I want to be awake, and I want to live. I choose life. He said, are you sure? I said, I choose life. Then I hugged him like a little baby girl. I don't know why I went through that experience. I know that I'm not afraid. I know that God is bigger, greater than I could ever imagine. But this was a lesson of me seeing human love. I see God love all the time. But this was human love. Divine human love for me. And it was a miracle. And I needed to impress the doctor with my vast healthiness. You know, he'll never forget me. Sometimes we're in a mountain for a reason. But if we just wake up and remember, I choose life, I'm looking for hope, where's the dream? We can move quickly into a new space. Everybody take a breath. Did you like my story?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what this planet is about. It's about how we love each other. And then about Christing, letting our Christ express and create and be alive. So you want to go in and anchor into your Christed nature? All right, let's put our feet on the floor. God, we love you so. I just ask that your beautiful light just enfold us all. I ask that that beautiful Christ I am quicken within every heart. And I would invite each of you just in your mind open to God. Feel that love of Creator moving to you, through you. And as you feel it, let it just open your energy field. And for a moment, let's bring forth the people in your field who love you. Let them come forward now. If it's 1, 2, if it's a puppy dog, anything. I want you to bring forth the energy that loves you. And I want you to feel it. Receive it. Say thank you. And feel the purity. And let your love now flow back. With the love of God flowing through me, and the love of my brothers and sisters, I can place my feet at a higher level. And I want you to feel yourself filling with love and lifting up just a little bit. We're going to let the people go. Lift up just a little bit, and I want you now to feel yourself being transported to the mountain you currently are working on. The mountain you are working on. Maybe little, maybe mammoth. And I want you to see at the core of the mountain all the good intentions. You were going to do something. You were going to learn something. You were going to accomplish. And I want you to notice, have you been tunneling through that mountain? Trying to find what you're looking for? Have you climbed up to the top and tried to ignore it? Have you stood and thrown rocks at it? In that mountain is a piece of your spirit, your soul. And that mountain is a piece of you. You may learn who you are gently and easily by experiencing your dream. Or you can keep your mountain and learn who you are through dealing with matter. It is your choice. But in this moment, if you choose to learn who you are by experiencing your dream, you experience the dream. If you're ready to embrace all this means, I want you to call forth that piece of your soul that's in the mountain and call it home to you. I call back whatever I was trying to learn that got so out of proportion. I bring it back to my heart, the piece of me. And as you do, look overhead and feel the energy of the dream. And I am going to lift into that dream. I'm going to walk in that realization. Lift up. Lift up. And move. And there is no glass ceiling. There is nothing that blocks you lifting up into the dream. And I want you to breathe. Breathe in the dream. If you are there, breathe it in. If you're in the mountain, that's okay. Stay where you are. But if you're in the dream, breathe it in and feel the joy and the hope and the life that you wanted to experience. And realize it will have its challenges, its joys. It will be your new level of being. If you want it, take it into your heart now. If you are not ready, we're going to step out in a second. Take it in if you're ready. And whether you have taken it in or not, I want you to begin to pull back until you can see yourself standing with Jesus the Christ If you have been in the mountain, pull yourself back and see yourself standing with Jesus the Christ. And I want you to place your hand in His. Look in His eyes. And if you can say this, please say it. I choose life. I want life. To know who I am. To be the child of God. To be awake. I choose life. Breathe it in and feel. Father, Mother God, bless each one here and everyone that hears my voice. Let them know they are held ever in your heart. And only goodness can come to them if they choose. And we ask now that your love enfold us all. I thank you. Take a breath. Feel the presence of Jesus Christ even coming back with you as you come back into your heart. Send your love to all those in your world. And just feel yourself becoming fully present in your body as you sit in your chair. Thank you, God. I choose life. And so it is. Breathe and gently open your eyes. Well, that was me sharing. I hope you felt my heart. And I hope that as you go forth this week, you look at your mountains in a little bit different way. So it is.